Oh God. I suppose I should start the what am I doing? Start the yeah, okay. I'll start the yeah. All over it today. All over it. Oh. Stand by. Here we go. There she is. Are we supposed to guess what the song is? Thanks, Jane. Still like a brick. My only applauder. If you'd like to send some applause, it's not today at swanburst.com. You're under no obligation, you understand? Jane likes to do it, and I'm very grateful, Jane. Thank you. It's very nice of you. Hello, how are you? Welcome to a brand new week. It's good to have you here. In a bit, we're going to talk about some TV. Have you been watching Time? The hot new prison drama business. We'll talk a bit about that. We've got some John Holmes figurine swaps, and but first, I might as well welcome along. I ought to do a proper jingle. Welcome Mic Wright to the podcast. Hello. Oh, hang on, let me turn you up. There you go. That's better. You what?
I said hello. Where is my jingle?
I will do you a jingle as now an official fixture. You're definitely jingle worthy, and that's, I can't say higher or bigger than that.
No, there is no greater honour than the jingle.
I did find I almost got superstitious as a younger man. I would write a song for whoever I was seeing, and that would immediately precede a breakup.
The curse.
And I got quite paranoid about it, and so I'm slightly nervous about writing a jingle for you because I feel like that could be the end.
Well, I'm more reliable than your youthful girlfriends.
Thanks. I was doing the dumping generally. This is an internal thing. This is me. It's not. Right. It's not you. It's me.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a little heads up for you. You're welcome.
I didn't realise that this was actually serving as a free therapy session.
Did you not? Oh, God. You should ask anyone who's heard more than 2 episodes. They'll understand. It's just therapy.
That's true. That's true.
So GB News trundles on.
It does. It does. It continues.
I feel like the novelty's slightly worn off for me, and I've sort of realised it is just crap.
Where did it ever start?
Well, there was so much to see and do. The lighting, the sound, the presenters, the raging.
That continues.
And you've covered in your newsletter, which everyone should subscribe to. It's brokenbottleboy.substack.com. Oliver Dowden, Culture Secretary, sort of waded in on this, hasn't he?
Yes, he was in the Sunday Telegraph yesterday, the preferred weekly reading for tweedy racists who are incensed about bins, traffic calming, and the fact that you can't say that word anymore. So he's in there saying, GB News had barely begun broadcasting when the pressure group Stop Funding Hate tried to stifle it, piling the pressure on, etc., etc. And the interesting thing here is, and I've said this in the newsletter, is that it's as ever not an argument for free speech, but an argument for the freedom of right-wing speech. Because what he's actually saying is, I only like the free speech from groups that I approve of. Because then you get, say, Stop Funding Hate get described as, this extreme minority voice, vocal Twitter minority, all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, yeah, but the premise of free speech is people of any size of group should have the right to have some speech.
What's really fun about that is that it sort of gives the game away. You can't say we're a plucky minority giving a voice to the little guys, and then say, who are these little guys? Who's this minority? Like, which is it?
Exactly. And the other argument that they do, and that Dowden's done here again, is he's gone, well, they've said this before the channel even started broadcasting. But the way I see it, GB News is sort of like in one of those films where, you know, they bring together a group of criminals for one last heist, right? This is
one last job.
This is the gammon godfather, Andrew Neil, bringing together this motley crew. Yeah. Andrew Doyle, Michelle Dewberry, Tom Motley Harwood, all of these people. And it's like, we know what they're like and what they've done in the past. So for people to say this channel is going to be like this is not some sort of,
it's not mad speculation, is it? No.
It's based on what they did previously, including when Andrew Neil was editor of the Sunday Times, being at the vanguard of AIDS denialism. You know, the receipts are there to read. So the notion that people were being wildly unreasonable to expect that GB News would be exactly what we see it is kind of, you know, it's a farcical debating point.
I would say yes, except I was mildly surprised by Simon McCoy, and having gone from being the kind of cult viewing on the news channel at the BBC, and, you know, frankly editorializing, saying, oh, really, we're covering a man standing outside a hospital. Really, is that really what we should be doing? To now saying, we're going to talk about good stories, and look, we're having fun. I'm still fun.
I wasn't surprised, because I think the interest... McCoy was part of the launch team for Sky News, you know, right. So he's been around in the business for a long time, and I think what he was always doing at BBC News was being that guy in the office who always goes, oh, management, oh, they're the worst, but actually he sort of, it's because he thinks he could do a better job. It was actually what you look back and see what he's doing on screen on BBC News was almost just kind of being a bit of a prick. Oh, I swore again.
It's fine, don't worry about it.
Kind of being a bit in sort of doing that thing of going, I'm the maverick.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sort of like, okay, the rest of us aren't idiots either. It's just that we kind of,
in all
know
honesty,
what the rules and structure is.
Yeah.
And now he's a sort of budget Howard Beale in Network, you know, shouting at people because people, you know, because people, comedy names were writing in and begging on Twitter that people should give them 6 months, and you know, don't and then also saying, oh, sticks and stones. And it's like,
you can't
you're a media company, stop pretending
you can't
you're being bullied. You know,
you can't say sticks and stones and then say stop sending funny names, because that wasn't hurting you. You just said, I think you're absolutely right, and it chimes with my thought watching him, what you were saying about him sort of thinking, I could do this. I could do this. I wrote down, this is as bad as a podcast. Yeah. And I don't think you can be any more damning than that. It's like some kind of middle-aged white guy going, I think I'm going to do this, actually.
Well, I'm told by people inside GB News on the production side that basically the technology is not very good, and it wasn't ready, and they've got system, you know, anytime they have an outside guest, their system doesn't work well with anyone who's coming through a firewall, so guests will just disappear. And it seems like they just said, well, this is the date we're going to launch, and launched, rather than going, because you're not telling me that during rehearsals this stuff wasn't happening. I
got to tell you, I've been there for the launch of low budget TV stations. I've done it, and I know what it's like. I was there, and I'm sort of thrilled that GB News has come along, because previously I thought I had been there for the launch of the cheapest, nastiest, and hoariest TV channel, which was Nuts TV. But this is something that's even more kind of transactionally prostitutional.
Possibly because Nuts TV knew what it was.
Yeah.
Whereas GB News thinks it's something better than it is.
Yeah.
Which is the Daily Mail smeared across a camera lens.
And so I remember all of those kind of TV programs. I also remember management taking a tremendous whack of the budget, which I think is probably slightly differently structured with GB News because it's all going on Haaland. But I remember the sort of the fatigue, and that they must be starting to tire. It's like having a newborn baby. You can get through the first couple of weeks with no sleep, but rage, particularly, which is what they're sort of marketing. It's like fear. You know, I always thought it was so brilliant with the Blair Witch Project, the trailers for that, where rather than someone sort of screaming and stuff, they were just crying quite softly. And I thought, God, that's brilliant, because sustained fear, like heightened fear, after a while that peters out because you haven't got the energy to sustain that, and it just turns into a sort of miasma of depression. And I sort of can feel that starting to feed into GB News, because you can't sustain outraged indignation forever.
You can if you're Dan Wootton, whose brain is just it's like Homer Simpson's brain with the monkey in it playing the cymbals, except in his it's just a monkey throwing its own effluent everywhere, and then looking deep into the camera, delighted at what it's achieved.
But they've got no wall to knock their ball against. I mean, they'll sort of truffle out little stories, but they haven't got any real opposition on air.
What's interesting about that is as well, when they do claim to have opposition. So there's a feature on Wootton's show called The Clash, which has which brings on someone from an opposing political view for Dan to clash with. But the way it works is you have a sofa stuffed with the usual GB News ghouls. So you've got Dan Wootton, you've maybe got the archaeologist that no one likes anymore. All of those people just sat there agreeing with Dan furiously. And then they go, and now time for the clash. And then they brought on a writer for The Independent who's sort of mildly centre-left, but as centre-left as a mainstream newspaper allows now.
Yeah.
And she sort of says, well, I actually think it's possibly not wrong to say that Enid Blyton was a racist. And then Dan Wootton shouts over her, and that's it. And you go, well, that's balance. We've done the balance.
Yeah, see?
Let's move on.
Yeah.
See, look, we let her talk. Dan let her say 3 or 4 words without interrupting her.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. There's no wall because, for instance, I wouldn't go on there. But if you did go on there, I had the experience of going on LBC in the past and having to deal with Nick Ferrari, or as he should rightly be called, Nick Austin Allegro. And I always have to say to his producers when I go on there, I am not coming on if Nick's going to do his act where he doesn't let me talk and then he just shouts over me, because it's just a waste of time. And eventually that's going to happen with the pseudo-left guests that they get on TV News. Only the most committed masochists, like the Benjamin Butterfields of this world, Butterworths of this world, who will go on anywhere to be shouted down by right-wingers, will go on there because it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because you're not listened to.
Could you not sort of enjoy that on some level, mate?
I'm not a masochist.
No, okay, fine. Just checking.
Despite my going on, many years in media history.
So much for the pseudo left-wing guests, but I mean, I feel like they're starting to slightly run out of right-wing guests. Like, there's an endless recycling of the pool.
They've had Farage on again.
Well, it's like, Neil Oliver goes on Nigel Farage's programme to talk about beautiful places in Britain, and then Nigel Farage is a guest on Andrew Neil, and then Andrew Neil clips get played on This Morning with Twit and Numpty, or whatever it's called.
Oh, the all-British breakfast.
That's right, yeah. Is this British ketchup, mate?
It's the most cholesterol-inducing of the TV breakfast shows.
Yeah, it will give you a heart attack.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think what it will. But the point, there was a good point made in the Wired article before it launched, which was its aim is not to get viewers. Getting viewers on a day-to-day basis is not really the thing. It will continue to achieve social media clips which then get attention, that and it really plays into it for it. The boycott does play into its hands, really. But the thing that we should cover with the Dowden thing is, why is the government wading in to defend GB News? Because it feeds into the government's pre-existing battles against the BBC and desire to strip the BBC for parts. So it will continue to defend GB News because it allows it to claim there are alternatives. Yeah.
Do you think there's also a degree of it kind of attempting to do to the media a kind of an Overton window? thing
Yeah,
of
it
kind of
exists to
shifting the
push
landscape
things
to the
further
right.
to the right.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is, Tim Davie, who is now DG at the BBC, is a former Tory council candidate. And then they've got a major Tory donor, or a significant Tory donor, who's now chairman of the BBC. So you've got those kind of conservative cuckoos in the nest at the BBC. And now what will happen is Davey will say, "Oh well, we need to have more diversity of opinion on the BBC, so we need to become further right wing." Because in reality, there's no left wing diversity of opinion on the BBC. There's one, I would say, all out left wing comedy product that has been allowed on the BBC in recent years, which is Frankie Boyle's New World Order, which they stick on very late at night, and I doubt will get recommissioned in the current climate.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's very mushy.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of. I don't think. I don't listen to, say, the news quiz and think, oh, how very left wing this is. It's very cozy.
Well, you wouldn't,
stuff.
mate. You wouldn't.
Or have I got news for you? Continues to be recommissioned because it is gumming at the establishment.
Well, it feels like it's satire, but it's topical comedy. Exactly, and I think there's often this thing. I was talking last week about people laugh at advertising slogans used as a punchline. Because most people don't have a sense of humour, but they've learned to recognise the cadence and rhythm of a joke. So, they're kind of like, to get to the other side. And they're like, hey, that's a punchline. You get it? And they do that. And then you can start just trotting out advertising slogans and it sort of has the same effect. Don't you just love being in control? And it's the same with Have I Got News For You? It's like, it looks like comedy that's satirical.
Yeah, I'm right. Well, Radio 4 has that issue as well. A lot of Radio 4 comedy is just the da of a joke, and then it reaches the line that will be the punchline, and the audience goes, "Aha! Yes, I noticed the format here."
Yes.
But an interesting thing this week was Guido Fawkes tweeting out the clip of Stuart Lee's "The Values of the Car Phone Warehouse" sketch.
I do not know that particular one.
It was back from the time when there was the Big Brother racism scandal, and the Car Phone Warehouse, which was the sponsor of Big Brother at the time, put out a statement saying racism is against the values of the Car Phone Warehouse. And Stuart Lee has a very good riff on this, talking about the Car Phone Warehouse has no values. He was saying the Car Phone Warehouse are secretly being racist and selling more phones is And anyway, but the point with this is, so Guido Fawkes tweets that out to believe that supports his view. Isn't it terrible that these companies are boycotting GB News because they don't actually have any values? And it's like, well, actually, Stuart Lee's point is it's quite a bit more subtle, but you just can only experience it on this on this opening, this basic level. Stuart Lee wrote a good thing in the Observer about the GB News thing, but again, a lot of right-wing people don't like him because they say, well, he doesn't do jokes though, does he? He doesn't do jokes.
Yeah,
don't do any jokes.
Do something about traffic jams. Go on.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to other binge watches. I desperately want to binge watch the next season of the Labour Party. Now that John Bercow has joined, is he gonna? Is he though? But is he?
This thing about this is, right, John Bercow used to be super hard right. He was a member of the Monday Club, who were like really hardcore right wingers.
Yeah.
I think this is a sort of product of FPBE brain, follow back pro Europe brain. This kind of like sense of like around the Brexit time that became something that all these.
That's what it stood for.
Yeah.
Follow back pro Europe.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, it's like during the Brexit kind of battles and the post-Brexit battles, you had all these people saying stuff like, "Oh, Ken Clarke, great guy, really on our, he should be a unity prime minister."
Yeah.
Did you realise that he's like on the board of British American Tobacco?
Yeah.
And was a Tory chancellor and remains, a big.
Yeah. There were some quite big scandals that went on under his stewardship
exactly.
there.
And so with something like Bercow, he for me it just screams of the fact that Keir Starmer's Labour is not particularly left wing. It doesn't go, look at the Tories. This man, Burko's come out and said that the Tories are horrible. It's like, yeah, well, also Burko was under major investigation for being a bully in Parliament, which is conveniently ignored by people on the kind of liberal centre left because they go, yeah, but he's on our team. And you go, yeah, but you can't do that. You can't do this.
Fight fire with fire, Mick.
Yeah. Anyway, Starmer's going to get shellacked in the Batley and Spen by-election, and we'll be told that actually, as Stephen Bush did in the Times today, he said, well, actually, Labour doing so badly in the most recent by-election was actually a good sign. And I was just like, this incredible columnist brain. Had it been, they got less than 1,000 votes, 638 votes, I think. Far less than they got under Corbyn in the last election in that constituency. But somehow, that's a sign that they're doing much better.
Yeah. It's all coming together, mate. Any day now.
Any time. His forensic ability will save us all.
Exactly.
The thing, ultimately, he's not very good at politics.
No.
He's terrible at politics. He might have been a good QC, but he's awful at politics.
Whereas Bojo, mate, absolute ledge. Mick, thank you so much for being here. People should go and read your brilliant thoughts on all of this, including some of the funniest imagery I've ever heard connected to Andrew Neil. Sphagnum Moss. It was really good. Go and check it out. It's brokenbottleboy.substack.com or at Broken Bottle Boy on the Twitter and all of that business. Will we see you next week?
Of course.
Marvellous.
If you remember to ask me
before
every time you
3 minutes to 10
saying I have forgotten.
Consider this my formal invitation.
Yes, I will see you next week.
Thanks, Mick. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Some reaction coming in on the YouTube. Pablo says, I think Simon McCoy is visibly regretting his decision live on air with each passing day. Yes, I agree. He says, watching GB News is almost as if they divided up the resources between the talent and the executives without investing in the production aspect. What? It's almost as if you had a vague idea of how the media works, Pablo. Martin says, didn't McCoy say somewhere he's thinking of retiring soon? I'm sure he said that as a sort of desperate joke, but there's always a lot of truth in Jem says, there's nothing wrong with an Austin Allegro. That is British Leylandist. Nick Fiat Punto, says Pablo. Some defence of the Great British Breakfast. A square sausage? Am I wearing a kilt, mate? Thank you, Pablo. Jem observes, have I got news for you? Occasionally allows Hislop to mention a scandal that Private Eye have been reporting on for months, and then it goes back to jolly good chummery. Martin says, I didn't know what FBP meant either. Neither did I. I thought it was like Facebook physical education. I don't know. Follow back pro-Euro. Bit needy, isn't it? Hannah says, shellac, isn't that nail polish? Martin says, it's a bug secretion. That feels just about right, doesn't it? So, have you seen Time? I don't mean the really terrible musical with the holographic projection of Sir Laurence Olivier and Cliff Richards. Why would you do that? No, it's new from the BBC. It's the most effective public information film I've seen. It's against drunk driving. It's the best one they've done since the kid playing on the railway tracks. Do you remember? I can still see his thigh and the smoke coming up off it when he falls on the electric rail. Anyway, plenty of fun, horrific imagery abound. in time. It's got Sean Bourne in it. Sorry, Sean Bean, and he's been all craggy and quiet, northern and that. And then there's the Scouse one, What's in Everything. He's very good. Something Graham. And it's about a guy going into prison for the first time. It's very, very accurate. It's very accurate. And it's good. I mean, it's a brilliant sort of little sort of suppressant, isn't it? It's like just remember this could happen to you. Yeah, it's a hard watch. Tried to watch some of it last night, and it was just. Do you know what it was? It was just too close to school. That sense of lawlessness and nowhere to appeal to, and the idea that it's just going to be worse if you actually try to. There's no recourse, and you're on your own, and you may suffer significant physical harm. It was absolutely terrifying. And it's kind of interesting. It sort of got me to thinking about using humor around bad things, dark things, and it's something I do quite a lot. I feel that they are two sides of the same coin, horror and comedy. I very often use really dark imagery in comedy, and I think that, you know, when comedy is good, it's one of the best things it can do is to metabolize awfulness and turn it into something that you can digest. And by the way, Jem says it's the frisbee and the power lines that comes back to me regularly. Hashtag public information film trauma. Do share your stories so we can all hold each other. Anyway, there's a podcast. I haven't heard any of this, all right? This is all basically this is Kim's podcast by proxy. But anyway, there's a podcast called Bad People, and I keep meaning to listen to it, and I just completely forget every time. And it's about kind of really, really, really terrible crimes, but it's discussed by two women, and one of them is a comedian, and Dr. Julia Shaw is on it, and they're doing exactly that job where they're taking really awful things, but it's such an important distinction to say, to explain. You know, I'm not trivializing what's happening. I'm just finding a way to deal with it. Anyway, she posted this on Instagram saying, from time to time I get messages from people who are appalled at my being disrespectful because I sometimes talk about dark issues with a smile. She says, it makes me sad that people think that looking sad and serious is required for talking about sad and serious topics. In fact, I find it can steer people away from important issues if they're too heavy. It's an issue in science too. Not serious equals not serious about the topic. Somehow then also quickly turns to my shoes, my whole being as a woman, my face being disrespectful, which is maybe just sexism. Not sure how black shoes can be disrespectful. Anyway, thanks for the love and support. Anyway, it's an interesting topic, that, and it's worth exploring some more. In the meantime, we had an email from Martin, who says, hi Jay, I wish I could remember why I thought of this. But it was in connection with one of this week's Not Today Thank You YouTube casts. Yes, are you watching on YouTube? It's youtube.com/nottodaypod. You could be watching this streaming live. And I should say good morning to all the people, including Martin, Julie, Jack, Jem, Emily, loads of others. Hannah, Pablo, and all the rest of you. Sorry, Rick. There we go. Anyway, here it is, he says, and I can't remember any kind of connection to this, but why not? It's my take on a ham Richard III actor reading spam bot messages. Best wishes, Martin, in brackets, recorded years ago on the internal microphone of a netbook PC, close brackets. We don't have time for the whole 9 hours of it, Martin, I'm afraid, but let's have a little taste. Some spam bot messages.
In but do of you if find. So have they are when we have and are tea.
Right.
For one are I, they, and my with me on. RT was it out, can up.
Well said. I mean, you can't argue with that, can you? Emily says, the YouTube safety film that did a simulation of what would happen to your head if you opened the door and walked between the carriages. I still can't eat watermelon. Oh, wow. Wow, I'm glad I didn't see that. It's not necessarily. It's not necessarily the best way of doing it, is it? People never believe it. I've never taken any drugs. I've never alcohol and caffeine, and that's it. I've never even taken a drag on a cigarette, like an ordinary cigarette or any other kind of cigarette. Never taken any drugs at all. And I always say it's because £30 million of government spending on drugs education and stuff in the 80s all went on me. But what an effective job it did. But I mean, I didn't have to see anything. I didn't have to see Zammo strung out. I was on board. I didn't have to see it. Martin says there's a really dark public information film about drowning in ponds. Oh my God. And Julie says the public information film on choking on small parts of John Holmes' action figures was horrific. Speaking of that, Zorro P. Freely has been in touch on Twitter. It's at NotTodayPod. Says, I've got a genuine BNIB Stretch John Holmes by Kenner. It's not one of the later Hasbro remakes. Wow. Stretch John Holmes comes in black trunks and can be stretched from its original size of about 15 inches to 4 to 5 feet. Sounds perfect. That's from Zorro Aylesbury, the town, not the duck. If you've got any John Holmes figurines, I mean, Zorro, you didn't really you're just showing off there. You're just flashing your John Holmes under our noses for us to all have a sniff, not offering it up for swaps. But if you've got any John Holmes figurines that you'd like to swap, do get in touch. Pablo says, I've heard of that one. I hear it's anatomically accurate. Yes, I believe it. I believe it is. I've seen some photos, not on the just on a WhatsApp group with John Holmes. Actually, he's sent me some horrible things on WhatsApp. Really awful things. Awful, shameful, dirty, disgusting things. I'll see if I can get him in on Wednesday. That's when I'll be back. This is the new model. Thank you so much for all your lovely messages of support and stuff after Friday's bombshell. I was really, very, very touching. Thank you so much. I'm fine. It's all going to be fine. And we shall carry on. Take care of yourselves. See you on Wednesday.
This has been a Swanburst Media production.